To mark the upcoming 52nd edition of the New York Marathon, we have the pleasure of being here with Professor Maurizio Dallocchio. Professor of Corporate Finance, alumnus Bocconi, and recordman. So welcome here, Professor.
It is a pleasure, Georgia. Thank you for inviting me.
I'd like to start highlighting two remarkable accomplishments for your career. First one, it's the contribution to the academic with more than 4,000 research dissertations to your name.
That's right.
Compliments to your students as well.
It's a very long story. Yeah. Let us start with that. But that is true. Yeah.
And the second is the impressive record of 24 consecutive finishes to the New York Marathon. A record that isn't only national but also European, isn't it?
That's correct. I'm the only European who finished 24 times in a row the New York City Marathon. I started in 1997 and I've been continuously running the marathon and finishing it until now. The only editions where I was not there, but the consecutivity is maintained, is 2012, just because of, the hurricane was there and unfortunately it was suspended. And 2020, because nobody ran it. And 2021, because only Americans were allowed to run because it was impossible to travel. So the definition in a row is strictly kept. So that is true. And I'm the only European who did that 24 times in a row. That's right.
So the first question, running like finance, we can say, requires long-term dedication. So how has your passion for running helped you maintaining this dedication to your academic path?
Well, Georgia, what I think is that there is a strict relationship between performances, I would say at any level. So basically, if you commit to studying, researching, publishing, growing younger generations and trying to interpret what a trend in your key subject is, you of course put all your commitment. It is impossible to be a good academician without having a vision of the present and of the future, and without of course putting all you have in your brain, in your heart, and in your hands in what you're doing. And that's the reason why I graduated more than 4,000 master students. At the same time, when you do something that is related with challenging your body, that is related with long performance, with endurance, you need commitment, otherwise you just die. It's as simple as that. When you have to, and you are committed to run 42 kilometers, 26.2 miles, what you understand from the beginning is, even if I am fairly trained, I cannot expect to have a good performance. I must be super trained. I must put all my commitment to be, of course, able to reach the finish line according to my expectations, in line with the efforts I put in. At the end of the day, what I would like to say is that as much as you put in, exactly the same you get out. And in endurance, both in life and in sports, in endurance practices, that is to me a law.
And in finance as well.
And in finance is also consistent with corporations.
May I ask you to share maybe an insight in running, maybe a suggestion for the beginners?
I have one very important. Find somebody who has a long experience, who's expert, trained, has real tips to share with you, and enjoy working with him or her. That is crucial. In my personal experience, he's a medical doctor and his name is Salvo Catania. A number of runners in Milano call him a master, because he is somebody who ran, I don't know, probably million kilometers. So, and he's the one that I started to run, say, at a good level with. And he is the one who started showing me how to run, what you are supposed to do when you run more than 10K, and then more than 15K, and then more than 20K. You run, when I ran my first half marathon, he was running with me, just suggesting the pace, when to drink, when to breathe normally if I was a little bit exhausted. this is crucial. Find somebody who is your angel, who is your inspirer, who is somebody who has the experience to share and enjoy with you. That's my key suggestion.
How did your relationship with sport evolve during your student days to your current role as a professor, as an alumnus too?
I will share with you, Georgia, a little secret.
That's perfect.
Well, you know, sport to me is a very important part of my life, because I was a poor ski racer. Poor because I was at the national, some European, but at national level. And surely not a top racer, but I was a good skier. So I turned out to be a ski instructor very young, and I set up a ski school. And I made money in the years between my age, 19, 22, 23, when I finished my university. While being a student, I was a ski instructor. And I made good money in that period, because if you own a ski school and the ski school is successful, you know, your life is good, economic. Of course, when I graduated, I started doing all the things that were necessary at the time, military service, then I started working for Pirelli, but then I was convinced to come back to Bocconi University as an assistant professor, and so, of course, I had to give up. And economically, it was a disaster, because one thing is running a ski school, another thing is being an assistant professor.
In Milan.
In Milan. That was quite a problematic period in my life, because I had a dramatic drop in my inflows. And I seriously thought about going back to my activity as a ski instructor. I'm not kidding. But then, of course, things changed. And when I left Milano for my military service, and I served the military in Puglia mainly, in Grottaglie, which is a lovely little town where an airport was set up a long time ago. As, say, the air traffic was not particularly developed, I started running back and forth in the airport. And that's where I started running, not professionally, professional is the wrong expression, not with specific targets, but with the idea of just running and trying to kind of substitute, switch myself from the ski world to the running world. And now I do both things.
Perfect. So how many different sports have you experienced with, and maybe are there any sports you'd like to try?
I would have loved triathlon. As a cyclist, I can probably do something, but I cannot swim. I mean, I'm just like a stone. If you put me in the water, as a matter of fact, what I keep saying is that the only way I like water is either as snow for skiing on it, or as ice cubes in my drink. That's the only way I like water. So that's typical. So triathlon, yes, but with something missing. I play tennis, and I've been proudly the goalkeeper of the Bocconi School of Management soccer team. And I was the worst, absolutely. Number one of the worst players. In fact, I had a nickname, which is a Saponetta Dallocchio. You know, Saponetta is the soap.
Yeah.
And the name comes from the fact that I was pretty, unsecure in stopping the ball. So, and that is basically it.
And as last quick question, if finance were a sport, which one would it be?
I would say climbing. I would say climbing because you always look for equilibrium. You always look for going up and creating the conditions for growth. And at the same time, you must have five different sources of information at equilibrium. 5 fingertips and 5 eyes, 5 visions if you want to keep everything under control, and in finance is very difficult.
Okay, perfect. Dear Professor, as part of Bocconi Sport, we wish you a splendid competition, and we wait you coming back in order to Explain us how was the marathon, your 25th marathon.
I will definitely share my feelings with you again, Georgia. Of course, I have no expectations in terms of time. I ran the Milano City Marathon in 3 hours 11 some years ago. In New York, my objective has always been to run it in 3:15, and I ran 4 times 3:16, never did in 3:15. It's not going to happen this time, of course, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to have fun.